Welcome to Online Math. This is Algebraic Operations Part 3, and today we will look at quotient simplification. Let's begin by looking at what algebraic quotients are. Algebraic quotients can be simplified by cancelling common factors in exactly the same way as for numerical fractions. So we will try and find the common factors, and we'll need to cancel them in order to simplify algebraic quotients. Let's begin by looking at a numerical fraction to practice cancelling common factors. So the fraction that is given to me is 8/12. What I need to do first is look at my numbers and think of its factors. So let's begin with the numerator, 8. Let's think of two numbers that are times to make 8. I can think of 2 times 4. So I'm going to write 2 times 4 for 8. And then for my denominator 12, I also need to think of its factors, which are the numbers that are times to make 12. When trying to come up with the factors, I need to try and use the numbers that I've already used so that I can cancel them out. And if possible, use the largest number. In this case, it is 4. And I know that I can use a 4 to make 12 because 4 times 3 will give me 12. So I'm going to write 4 times 3. This means that the factors of 8 are 2 and 4, and the factors of 12 are 4 and 3. And the common factors are 4. So then I can cancel out my common factor of 4. Cancel it out, and I am left with 2/3. What this means is 8/12 is equal to 2/3, and that 8/12 is simplified to 2/3. Now let's look at an algebraic fraction and simplify this. How we simplify this algebraic fraction is the same as simplifying the numerical fraction. So we will first need to list all the factors and cancel out the common ones. For 2x squared, 2x squared means 2 times x. So write down its factors. And for the denominator, it is x to the power 5. This means x is being times 5 times. Then we need to find the common factors. So we see a pair of an x and x, so cancel it out because they're the common factors. We also see another pair of x's, so cancel it out as they are the common factors too. Then collect the leftovers. So in the numerator part, we see that the 2 is left over. As a denominator, we have x times x times x. So put them together, so it becomes 2/x times x is x to the power of 3. This means that 2x squared over x to the power of 5 is simplified to 2/x to the power of 3. Now let's work on some practice questions together. We are going to simplify these fractions. The first one is 10x/5. So let's list its factors. For 10x, it would be 2 times 5 times x, because 2 times 5 is 10, 10 times x is 10x. For my denominator of 5, I can do 5 times 1, but instead of writing 5 times 1, we're going to ignore times 1 and just write 5. Now looking at the factors, what can I cancel out? I can see that there's a 5 and another 5, so these are my common factors. So I can cancel it out, and I am now left with 2x. This means that 10x over 5 is simplified to 2x. For question 2, I have 12 over 4x. So let's list its factors. For 12, I have 4 times 3 as its factors. And for 4x, I have 4 times x. The common factor that I can cancel out is the 4. So cancel it out, and I am left with 3 over x. So 12 over 4x can be simplified to 3 over x. Next question, I have 5a over a. 5a is 5 times a, and the bottom a is just a by itself, and the common factor is the a. So cancel it out, and I am left with the 5. 5a over a is simplified to just 5. X squared over x. X squared is x times x, and the bottom x is just by itself. Cancelling out the common factor of x, so 1x on top, 1x on the bottom, and I am left with the x. So x squared over x is simplified to just x. Next question, we have 2cd over c squared. 2cd means 2 times c times d. So write it out. And c squared is c times c. And the common factor would be the c's. So 1c on top, 1c on the bottom, and list whatever's left behind. So for the top of my fraction, which is the numerator, I have 2 times d. And for my bottom, I have 1c left. 2 times d is 2d, so I can write 2d over c. Next question, we have 8x squared over 10xy. Let's go ahead and list all of its factors. So for 8x squared, I'm going to break it down. So I'm going to write 2 times 4 for 8. X squared is 8x times x. And for my bottom 10xy, I'm going to break down the 10 and write 2 times 5 for 10. And xy means x times y. What are the common factors here? I have 2 and a 2, so cancel it out. I have a pair of x, so 1 on top, 1 on the bottom, so cancel it out. And I am left with the 4 and the x, so 4 times x, and the 5 times y, so 5 times y. And in the end, when you simplify algebraic quotients, you want to omit writing the times sign. So you can just write it as 4x over 5y. So 8x squared over 10xy is simplified to 4x over 5y. Let's work on 2 more questions. So for this fraction, we have 2mn squared over 14m squared n squared. So let's list all of its factors. 2mn squared means 2 times m times n times n. For the bottom of 14, m squared, n squared, I'm going to break down 14 using the 2 because I know that if I do, I can cancel it out. So use the 2 And 2 times 7 gives me 14. So those will be my factors for 14. And m squared means m times m. And n squared means n times n. So list it all out and look for the common factors. So any number that appears on top of the fraction and on the bottom of the fractions, I know I can cancel them out. So first cancel out the 2's, then cancel out the m, cancel out the n, and there's another pair of n that I can cancel out. And what am I left with? I am left with 7 times m on the bottom. And everything's been cancelled out on top, and that means there's a 1. And so it is 1 over 7m. So 2mn squared over 14m squared n squared can be simplified to 1 over 7m. And this is the last question. We have 15p cubed q over 3p. Now, we know that there is a 3 on the bottom, and so we will look at the 15 and go, can 3 times something give me 15? And we know that the answer is yes. 3 times 5 will give me 15. So I'm going to write 15 as 3 times 5 so that I can cancel out my 3's. P cubed means p times p times p. So write it out, and the q. 3p means 3 times p. And now we're going to look at the factors and see if there's anything in common. We see the 3 on top, 3 on the bottom, so we will cancel those out. And we see a p and a p. And what are we left with? We're left with the 5, p, and q. So that is 5 times p times p times q. And on the bottom, everything's been cancelled out, so it's a 1, or we can ignore it. 5 times p times p times q is 5p squared q. And we can write the bottom of 1. But generally, in math, if we have a denominator of 1, we can just omit writing it. So it would be 5p squared q. So 15p cubed q over 3p is simplified to 5p squared q. Hope you found today's lesson on quotient simplification helpful. Like and subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.